What nobody knew for years is that the word synthetic, printed on a bottle of oil, does not mean what you probably think it means. In 1999, an advertising watchdog looked at a famous synthetic oil brand and admitted, right in its own ruling, that the stuff was made from regular mineral oil that got chemically reworked, not built from scratch in a lab. That loophole never closed. So, if you have been handing over $20 a quart because the label says full synthetic, I have got some numbers that are going to change how you shop. 38 years wrenching on bikes taught me which oils earn that price tag and which ones are just a nice bottle. Here are 5 to skip and 3 that are worth every dollar. Nobody in the riding world was paying attention to that ruling back in '99. It happened in a courtroom for advertising disputes, not a courtroom anybody reads about. The oil companies knew exactly what they had gotten away with. They just didn't expect a bunch of gearheads 30 years later to go digging through the paperwork. Here's what that ruling actually said. The National Advertising Division, which is the advertising industry's own watchdog under the Better Business Bureau, ruled on a complaint that Mobil brought against Castrol's Syntec oil. The panel found that Castrol had a reasonable basis to keep calling Syntec synthetic, even though it was built from a hydrocracked mineral base instead of a lab-built compound. A mineral-based oil, chemically upgraded, got to keep the word synthetic on the label. After that, most of the big brands quietly moved their synthetic oils onto that same cheaper base stock because the ruling had just told them they were legally allowed to, and nobody printed a warning on the front of the bottle when it happened. So, if synthetic doesn't tell you much, what actually matters for your bike? 2 things. First, does the oil carry a genuine JASO rating? That's JASO, the Japanese Automotive Standards Organization, and it's the certification that tells you an oil won't glaze up your wet clutch plates. Automotive oil is often built with friction modifiers to help a car's fuel economy, and those same friction modifiers can make a motorcycle clutch slip under load right when you're pulling out of an intersection and need every bit of grip you can get. Second, does the oil hold its viscosity grade once your transmission gears start shearing it apart? Because in a shared sump bike, your gearbox is beating on the same oil that's protecting your engine. A 40-weight oil that shears down to a 30-weight halfway through the interval isn't doing the job you paid for. And here's where it gets interesting, because there's a real difference between an oil that's JASO registered and one that just says it meets JASO requirements. A registered oil has an actual license number on file with the organization. A meets requirements oil is just a claim printed on a label, and nobody's checking it before it ships. That distinction alone is going to save you money and protect your clutch. So keep it in your back pocket while I walk through the list. I'm going to grade every oil on this list against that same test, real JASO registration or just a claim, and real shear numbers or just a nice bottle. Every rider with a wet clutch bike is running on borrowed time between now and their next oil change, and the clock doesn't pause just because a label is confusing. So, let's start with the oils I would not put in my own bike, starting with number 1. Number 1, Royal Purple Max Cycle. This is a brand a lot of riders swear by, and I get why. The marketing is slick, but in 2009, BP Lubricants filed a challenge against Royal Purple with that same advertising watchdog, and the panel found that no Royal Purple products were certified to the industry standards Royal Purple claimed, and recommended the company drop its 5% fuel economy improvement claim after outside testing found no real difference. Independent style shear and wear testing on the motorcycle-specific Max Cycle line backed that up, showing it landing dead last in wear protection compared to its competitors, and failing the foaming limit it's supposed to pass. For an oil that markets itself as track-proven, dead last is not the finish line you want. You're paying a premium price for a brand that's been formally called out for over-claiming. That was just the story writers on forums knew about. Behind the scenes, the lab numbers told an even less flattering story. Number 2. Lucas Oil High Performance Synthetic Motorcycle Oil. Lucas built its name on truck stop advertising and a loyal following, but in the same independent style testing, the heavier grade Lucas oil produced 500 plus milliliters of foam across 3 separate test runs, when the oils that passed produced 0. That's the kind of number that makes a lab technician wince. Foaming oil doesn't lubricate properly. It just churns air through your engine. The same batch also sheared out of its rated viscosity grade and failed a gear wear test that almost every other oil in the study passed. If you're buying Lucas because the bottle looks tough, the lab results don't back that up. But here's the detail that everyone missed at the time, and it's the one that turned this from a 2-item list into a full investigation. Number 3, and this one's a little different because I'm not telling you this oil is bad. Motul 305 factory line. This is genuinely elite racing oil, some of the best film strength and heat tolerance you can buy. The problem is what it's built for. Motul's own technical sheet says this oil is meant for frequent changes after racing events, with no long-haul detergent package for daily riding. It's priced over $20 a liter, and using it in a commuter bike on a normal street interval is like putting racing slicks on your grocery run. Great oil, wrong job, and you're paying race car money for a job that doesn't need it. This is where the story takes a turn nobody expected, because the next oil on this list wasn't caught lying about being synthetic. It was caught advertising the wrong clutch rating entirely. Number 4. Maxima Maxim 4 Ultra. This one advertises a JASO Ma2 wet clutch rating, the kind you want. The wet clutch rating printed on that bottle seemed like a small detail. It wasn't. When the oil was actually run through the official wet clutch procedure in independent style testing, it only qualified for the lower JASOMB category, the one built with friction modifiers, the one you're specifically trying to avoid in a shared sump bike. And the follow-up viscosity check made the picture worse, not better. The heavier grade came in under its own listed viscosity grade right out of the bottle, the only oil in that entire study to fail that check straight out of the container. And oil advertising the wrong clutch rating is exactly the kind of thing that can leave you wondering why your clutch is slipping and you have no idea why. There's a reason this next one is still argued about in comment sections more than any oil on this list. Number 5. Shell Rotella T6 5W40 when it's marketed toward motorcycle riders. Now, I want to be fair here because Rotella is a solid oil in general. The problem is specific. It's a heavy-duty diesel oil, and Shell's own spec sheet lists JASO MA and MA2 under a meets or exceeds header, not on the actual JASO registered list. Riders see those letters printed on a diesel jug and assume it's a certified motorcycle oil. It isn't. Some riders on forums have reported rougher shifting and more valve train noise after Shell's newer formulation, and I'll flag that as rider anecdote, not lab fact, because I haven't seen it independently tested. But the certification confusion alone is reason enough to know exactly what you're buying before you pour it into a wet clutch bike. If you're finding this helpful, go ahead and hit subscribe. I break down real numbers on motorcycle ownership every week. No dealer talking points, just what actually holds up. All right, so here's where things get interesting, because a few oils on this shelf actually earn their price tag, and the evidence behind them is a lot stronger than marketing copy. But this isn't just about which 5 oils to avoid anymore. It's about which ones actually deserve your money, and that list is shorter, but a whole lot stronger. Number 1, worth it. AMSOIL's Metric 10W40 and V Twin 20W50 synthetic motorcycle oils. These carry a genuine JASO MA2 registration, an actual license number on file, not just a claim on the bottle. In shear stability, wear protection, and foaming resistance testing, they land at or near the top of the field. I'll be straight with you. The most detailed head-to-head study on this list was published by AMSOIL itself, so treat the rankings with a grain of salt. But independent oil analysis reports from riders running these oils over long intervals back up the same story. Low wear metals, steady viscosity. You're paying close to $19 a quart, but the paperwork actually supports the price. Number 2, worth it. And this is the one that surprised me most when I first dug into it. Mobil 1 Racing 4T 10W40. You can find this for around $11 to $13 a quart at a regular auto parts store. No special order, no direct ship markup. The part that surprised me is where it landed in that same AMSOIL-sponsored study, a study built by Mobil's direct competitor. Mobil 1 Racing 4T still ranked second overall in its weight class. Think about that for a second. The company running the test had every reason to make its own oil look best, and Mobil still came in second. Independent oil analysis from riders backs that up too, showing it holding its shear grade and keeping strong wear protection numbers over normal riding intervals. Mobil's own datasheet says the oil meets or exceeds JASO MA and MA2 requirements. And while it doesn't carry a registered license number the way AMSOIL does, the lab numbers behind it are legitimate. If you want the best value on this entire list, this is it, and it isn't close. Number 3, worth it. Redline motorcycle oil, and a budget option that pairs with it. Redline's 20W50 is built from true ester and PAO-based stock, with about 2,200 parts per million of zinc-based anti-wear additive, real Group 5 synthetic chemistry, not the reworked mineral base most brands quietly switch to after that 99 ruling. That chemistry earns its premium price for air-cooled engines running hot on a summer highway. If you want the same style of protection without the price tag, Liquimoly, spelled Liquimoly and pronounced Liquimoly, actually appears on the official JASO 4T registered list under the MA2 category. It's a genuinely certified oil at a price closer to Mobil than to Redline, and it belongs on your shortlist if the premium brands feel like too much. I want to be completely fair to two of the brands I just put on the avoid list, because they deserve credit too, and a list that only tears things down isn't an honest list. Mobil 1 ranking second in a study run by its own competitor is about as strong a counterexample as you'll find anywhere in this niche. Rotella, despite the certification confusion, actually tests fine in independent oil analysis reports. It's just not built or licensed as a motorcycle-specific oil, so don't assume it's bad. Just know exactly what it is before you pour it in. And Motul 300V is some of the best racing oil money can buy. Full stop. The problem was never quality. It was using a race tool for a street job and paying race prices for the privilege. This kind of label confusion isn't unique to motorcycle oil. Walk down any hardware store aisle and you'll find the same trick on cleaning products, on supplements, on half of what's stacked on that shelf, a big proud word on the front and the actual truth buried in 6-point font on the back. The word synthetic on a bottle was never the thing protecting your engine. The JASO rating was. The shear numbers were. Whether a company had to answer to an advertising board for what it claimed was. Read the fine print before you trust the big word on the front, on oil or anything else, and you'll never get fooled by a fancy label again.